Hello, everyone. This is going to be your 200 jury charge test for the RPR simulator. So this will be 5 minutes long, and I will be reading this at 200. Okay, ready? Again, it's kind of a chilly night. Chris never talks to his mom, but he knows he now has to be home by 10. They watched the fire for a while and then tossed the van seat onto the back of the fire. About 9:30 and a quarter to 10, Chris goes home. He gets home and watches some TV and then he goes to bed. Now, what I've just done is explain to you what we believe the evidence will show what happened on October 31st. As Mr. Miller has pointed out, that's called the opening statement. I think it's more like a story. It's like reading a novel. A trial is kind of a novel. Novels have characters and you'll see witnesses. Novels have a plot or some sort of a theme. Each side, the prosecutor and the defense, we each have a theme we want to present to you, and then there's always a conclusion. Now, the difference between a trial and a novel is that the conclusion hasn't been written. That's your job. At the end of this case, after each attorney has had an opportunity to present witnesses and evidence for you, had an opportunity to give what's called a closing argument after the judge instructs you on the law, then it's up to you and you alone to finish the story to decide what actually happened. Now, unlike a story or a novel, there can be turns and twists. Mr. Miller pointed out in their theme, there are turns and twists, and we'll do the same. There may be similarities between novels and trials, but there are some differences as well. For instance, when I read a story, sometimes I get a little anxious and I want to find out what happened and who did it. So I tend to want to skip some of the pages, skip a chapter, or maybe even take a peek at the very end. But you can't do that here. Part of that, and the obvious reason, is that the court controls the tempo and flow of information here. We can't just start now and skip right to the end of the closing arguments. You need to hear the evidence first. When we talk in the jury selection about burden of proof and presumption of innocence, one of the questions I had for you, and I believe most of you raised your hands or at least nodded affirmatively, that you want to hear from both sides, and you can't do that if you skip to the end. You can't do that if you hear from just one side. As Mr. Miller pointed out, they get to go first. They will present you with number of witnesses, days and weeks of evidence, exhibits, photographs, and testimony. When they're done, we will get an opportunity to provide you with the same. But if you don't presume that Chris is innocent, even after they're done with their part of the case, after they rest and allow us an opportunity to present witnesses for you, then you've already skipped to the end of the book. You've passed a number of chapters and you've denied the presumption of innocence. And what I was most impressed by on the jury selection is I believe every person here agreed, raised their hand that yes, we need to presume Chris innocent at all times until it's time for you to deliberate, your final time to go from here into the back room to make your decision. It is important to remember who is on the trial. This is not the Evan Lammers trial, and it seems so simple to say that, but it's very difficult to do. In February, late or early March, when the Evan Lammers trial was going on, I would often go to court in a different county, and the attorneys and even a judge would ask me, shouldn't you be over in Clarence? Isn't that where the Lammers trial is going on? Yep, that's true. My in-laws, my neighbor, even my pastor said the same thing to me, and I'd have to politely tell them each time, well, that's a different trial. I represent Chris Gilbert, the nephew, and it's a different case entirely. And I believe that's what the state wants to present to you as well. They need to present evidence about Evan Lammers and his involvement, but I think they want to focus on Chris as well, and to that I agree. This is not Evan Lammers. You will hear days and days of evidence about Evan Lammers and his DNA, his blood found in the SUV, about the bone fragments behind his house in a burn pit, and about the bullet fragments found in his garage. You will hear about the ignition key found in his bedroom, but I don't believe you will hear evidence about Chris Gilbert's DNA. You won't hear the same evidence involving Chris Gilbert. There won't be any DNA, no blood, no saliva, no sweat, no hair, no nothing. No fingerprints, no science that's going to point you to Chris Gilbert. Not the science that points to Evan Lammers. But again, this is Chris Gilbert's trial. It's not Evan's trial. It's about a 16-year-old boy at the time. It's about a 16-year-old high school student with below average cognitive abilities. He's at a fourth grade reading level and has a low IQ. This is about a shy, introvert, socially inept, suggestible child. That is what this trial is about. You will learn that this shy, socially inept, suggestible individual will meet two highly trained, intelligent adult police officers. He meets Agent Mark Wise and Investigator Jeff Mangett. They are trained as adult law enforcement officers, trained to obtain confessions, and trained on Chris Gilbert. Alone with these two officers, Chris makes several statements, as Mr. Miller has already alluded to in his PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So we do have a word list. Okay, we've got Chris Gilbert, capital CHRIS, Gilbert, capital GILBERT. Mr. Miller, capital MILLER. Evan Lammers, capital EVAN. Lammers, capital LAMMERS. Clarence, capital CLARENCE. Agent Mark Wise, capital A on agent. Mark, capital MARK. Wise, capital WISE. Investigator Jeff Mangett, capital INVESTIGATOR. Jeff, capital JEFF. Mangett, capital MANGET. And we also have PowerPoint. PowerPoint is one word, capital POWER, capital POINT. So you do, even though you capitalize the P on point, it's still one word with as PowerPoint. That is one word. Okay, and that concludes our RPR jury charge. Good luck.